What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Nicole, and today's video is inspired by my friend Mark at The Book Thing, who I don't know if he thought of this originally, but I watched his video a couple weeks ago and I wanted to do the same video. So shout out to Mark. We're going to talk about the 10 hardest books I've read and if they were worth the read or not. Up first is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. And I did not rate that book. I took quite some time to read it because it's a complicated book. I had a lot of different feelings on A Clockwork Orange, and then after I watched the movie, which is what, like 3 hours long or almost 3 hours long. It's a bit much, and I would think that if you are interested but hesitant, I would watch the movie first, which is a weird thing to say, I know. But yeah, it is a hard book. Not just because of the language, where the main character, Alex, he and his rascally, actually really very dangerous criminal friends wreak havoc on a weird dystopian London, England situation. We're not sure why criminals are running amok and they are just let go to basically do whatever, especially young criminals. But he is not a good person. His friends aren't good people, and a lot of people in and around London in this book are fearful of their lives because crime. Totally makes sense. The writing is pretty complex because there's slang used and it's derived from Russian words. So you have to really pay attention. That is not the reason why I say watch the movie if you can handle it over the book. More so that I looked into the background of A Clockwork Orange because I did not know what to feel about that book. There were just a lot of misinformation and a lot of things that are just not factually true when it comes to things of the human psyche and science. Where I was like, okay, I get that this is an older book, I get it, but like even back when it was published, some of these things don't work. And Anthony Burgess did say by the end of his or near around the end of his writing career that he should have edited A Clockwork Orange way more than it was, because he wrote this book in 6 weeks, and I can kind of get that vibe, unfortunately. There are a lot of things that could definitely be better expanded on and fleshed out, and then I wouldn't have a huge problem with A Clockwork Orange. But there are just things that are not factually correct of humans and how things work with humans, even psychologically, where it can definitely depend on the person. It just doesn't work for me. If you want to hear a more in-depth book review and discussion on that, I did do a book review on A Clockwork Orange. It's quite long, but I had some thoughts, comments, and concerns. So I'll leave that video in the description box. But yeah, was it worth it? That's tough. I kind of lean towards no, because what did I get out of it? I got annoyed. That's what I got out of it. And even with Anthony, the writer, he was like, yeah, I needed to work more on this book. Like, there's potential, but it's not enough. And I feel bad that it's my most popular book that I'm known for. And I feel that. I get it. So I hope that he passed away okay with the fact of that, but I don't know. Yeah, I was reading up on A Clockwork Orange and the writer, and yeah, he, at the end of his career and life, he was not completely satisfied with the reaction with especially young men trying to be like Alex, and people thinking that A Clockwork Orange is a great book and how you should treat criminals and all that stuff. And like, ooh, yeah, so I would say I'm gonna lean towards no. It's unfortunate because, I mean, I was gonna say he put a lot of work into it. Then again, he only he put a lot of thought into it. How about that? Yeah. I don't know about work, but he put a lot of thought into it. Number 2, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I did a book review on that, and then I got 2 characters mixed up. And even with notes, and even looking at Spark Notes, and even talking to my husband, who recommended The Sun Also Rises, he gets these 2 characters mixed up because they're written out, and they therefore sound nearly identical, at least to me and my husband. And my husband enjoys Ernest Hemingway. And who was the dudes that I get mixed up? This is the problem, okay, with The Sun Also Rises. Very interesting concept. It's character driven, not a lot of plot, but we are really talking about the after effects of World War I with this specific group of mainly men, and then there's a woman, Brett, and the main character is really struggling. They're all struggling, especially the men, because they all went to war. And so it's really a conversation about what World War I did to these men and how to handle it, and existential crisis, and you can't talk about your feelings during this time, so people are really struggling and they're angry and they're just bottling it all in, and that is an important conversation. Did Ernest Hemingway write the clearest book? Not to me. Was it worth it? I don't know. Yeah, this is another one where I'm on the fence and I kind of lean towards no. But then, I had great conversations with my husband about this book and about World War I. He's a historian. He has quite a few degrees in history, and he knows a lot of things. And he knows a lot about the 2 great world wars, and I just pick up a lot of stuff from him. Like, I'm interested in both of them, but I'm not like fascinated, watch all the documentaries and read all the books. That would be him. But this was a shorter book of Ernest Hemingway, and so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. It's better than trying out the chunky monkey Ernest Hemingway books. I forget which one did I try out and I DNF'd. Oh, dude, I don't even know. So he said, my husband said, try out The Sun Also Rises, but then he gave me a pep talk in a way and explained what The Sun Also Rises in, and that Brett's gonna be really annoying, but Ernest Hemingway has a problem with women. And I'm like, okay. There's a lot of build up for this book. And did I like any of the characters? No. Did I think at least some of them were interesting? Yes. So for me, I don't have to relate to the main character or any character to like a book. I either have to relate or find the character or characters interesting, preferably both, but usually that doesn't happen. So I did at least find some characters interesting, but I think about halfway I was like, oh my god, this is a lot. This is a lot. And then, yeah, I got confused about these two characters in the group. One of them, probably, most likely, is impotent. And in my book review, I got the names mixed up. And so, like, I have The Sun Also Rises book review still up because I made a note in the description box and in a pinned comment that I mixed up these character names. So sorry. I still have a lot of dislikes on that. But those two just were too similar. Like, they weren't their own persons, their own characters. And even my husband, who enjoys Hemingway and has read The Sun Also Rises a couple times, he was even like, oh, yeah, I kind of got them confused as well. Like, no, it's not your fault. And it wasn't the best fleshed out two characters. I was like, yeah, I'm getting dragged here. But the one that stands out the most is, of course, the main character, and also Brett. And then, like, the other ones, they kind of just melt together. So I don't know if it was worth it. But once again, you know, I will leave The Sun Also Rises book review in the description box below. You have fun with that one. Number 3, Plato's Republic by Plato. I actually really enjoyed Plato's Republic. I read the full thing. It's somewhere around here. I was an English major. I have a bachelor's degree in English language and literature, but I took a lot of philosophy classes. And so one class, it was about Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. That was it. But, I mean, it took up the full semester. And I don't even think we read all of their works. So, made sense, was really interested. I read Plato's Republic. I really prefer Plato / Socrates over Aristotle. Aristotle just kind of bothers me. And I think Plato, weirdly, or maybe not weirdly, writes more clearly than Aristotle, so I do appreciate that. And Plato's Republic is absolutely worth the read. Number 4, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This took me almost 3 years to finish, and I was in high school. So, well, I was on the cusp of high school and almost college, so, ooh, yeah, that took too long. It is a classic, and I'm not a huge fan of classics because, well, especially, let's just say Jane Eyre, like, so much meandering, so much exposition. Where's the period? There was no BS. There was a situation, I'm going to say situation because it's a situation, where, at least in my copy, and it's an old cloth-bound hardcover that's kind of sort of falling apart, and I don't know where it is. It's somewhere over there. I haven't touched it in a while because it's kind of falling apart. It's been moved many, many times, and I think I didn't take the best care of it also, but I was gifted that copy by an English teacher in high school. Took me 3 years to read. There's a particular section in that copy where, no BS, 3 pages without a period. What are we doing, Charlotte? What are we doing? I need to breathe. And it's not like it was, well, it can't be, like, the pages went on and on and on. Like, huge paragraphs, there's no indentation, there's no dialogue. 3 pages of a big paragraph block. And then finally by page 3, like maybe halfway, we've got a period. I don't know what happened. So that was the longest without a period in that particular copy. But yeah, it would just go on. And I'm like, help. So, is my life forever changed by reading Jane Eyre? Not really. Even as a teenager, not really. The second half where Jane leaves Mr. Rochester and goes to like that the minister's house, and like she's kind of having an existential crisis. And I was like, yeah, let's stay here. Don't go back to him. Let's stay here. This seems good for you. Oh, great. You're going back to him. Cool. Okay, I guess. I am, I don't know, worth it. I would say like it's another borderline. Borderline, no, but like slightly yes, because I really enjoyed Wide Sargasso Sea, which is a prequel published not that long ago compared to when Charlotte Bronte published Jane Eyre, but that is a background on the mysterious woman in the attic of Mr. Rochester's house. And I thought that was way more fascinating than Jane Eyre, because Jane Eyre herself is plain. Number 5, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor A. Frankl. This is a perfect nonfiction book. I was going through a really rough time, and one of my therapists suggested reading Man's Search for Meaning. I've had an existential crisis like every couple months since I was 4. There's a lot going on in my mind, and I don't think I'll ever not have an existential crisis. And when I was religious, I would have an existential crisis all the time. Like, that didn't help. I know a lot of people find idea of an afterlife or God and all that stuff helpful. I didn't really. I actually, now as an atheist, have less existential crises compared to when I was religious. And this was during a time where I was questioning everything. And I was just having a really hard time. And also going through trauma therapy and ERP therapy, which is specific for OCD. I was going through a lot, let's just say. And I needed to, well, have some idea about meaning and how do you find meaning and what are others talking about it and how do they view it. And Viktor A. Frankl really hit the nail on the head. He is a Holocaust survivor, and he really talks about searching for meaning and how do you do that when especially you've had a terrible life, terrible childhood, or you've gone through something absolutely disgusting, terrible, life-changing, like in his case, the Holocaust. And how did he overcome that and find meaning and then move on in however way you can? Like, it's not, you can't, fully move on if you were a survivor of the Holocaust. And he says that, but he, in this book, really goes deep into his own psyche and other Holocaust survivors' psyche and just talks about how do you find meaning after terrible things happen to you and people that you love and just in general. And I think that was absolutely amazing. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's disturbing, but I highly recommend A Man's Search for Meaning. Number 6, 1984 by George Orwell. Well, this is a classic, and it did take me quite some time to read through, and I would probably have to read it over and over and over again to get the full context because there's so much underlying everything in 1984, but it's an important book. It's challenged and censored all the time, and I think you should definitely read it. I think that it was worth the read, even though it was really hard. It took many, many months, but it is an important book for not just Americans to read, but for anyone to read. Don't feel bad if you're reading it and you have no idea what's going on. Just take a breath and probably reread that section, or maybe go back a few pages and kind of start from there and move forward. There's just a lot. There is a lot. And I read up on SparkNotes and great people on BookTube who do analyses on classics. That really helped. But I would definitely, I feel, would need to read it a couple more times to fully get it in my noggin. But like I said, it is worth it. It is hard, but it is a classic for a reason. Number 7, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This took quite a few months, I think maybe 6 months to read. I was in college, so it's been quite some time. And I initially was like, ooh, this isn't great, but it's not bad. And for a couple years, I fell on like 3.5 stars, right? And then I was just thinking, pondering, because that's what I do sometimes in the middle of the night, about Pride and Prejudice. And then I just picked up my phone. I'm like, I can't rate this book. I'm like, I enjoyed it, but it was also like a lot of classics, in my opinion. Meandering, a lot of filler. Can we take a break? Where are the periods? But classics were written in their way for, you know, specific reasons. At least for Pride and Prejudice, the story was clearer. It wasn't as meandering. It didn't have that much purple prose. It's there, but it is better than Jane Eyre. So what book would I say to read between the two of them? If you're going for like women's classic literature, I would go with Pride and Prejudice. Also, the Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden, chef's kiss, no notes, perfection, 5 stars. That's the best version, and I will die on that hill. So yes, it was a hard read, but I recommend it. Number 8, The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I did not like this. I read it in college. Yeah. I forget what college course it even was for. It must have... Okay, it was either a philosophy class or one of my English classes. I don't remember. I started reading it and I was like, oh, you know, the first, 5 pages, interesting. And then it just went downhill and I don't remember much. But I remember just meh. It's meh. So I don't know. I don't think I am a Russian literature gal. I have not read a Russian literature book that I liked, so I don't know if it's for me. And I kind of info dumped The Idiot. So I'm gonna say not worth it. Sorry to everyone who loves this author. Art's subjective, don't come for my throat. Number 9, The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. Well, I read part of it in college because there's only specific sections within the Canterbury Tales that were assigned because that's a chunky monkey book, and even English professors understood you can't read the whole thing and have 14 other books in line because, yeah, at least where I was at, in community college and in full university, you were reading 15 plus books per course. And the sections that I read for the Canterbury Tales, I really enjoyed. It was really basically like the first half And then after that course was done, then I finished the second half and I kept that copy, one of the few copies that I still have left over from my college days. Most of those books I rented because I knew I wasn't really going to be interested in keeping the classics. But that is one that is it's a decade or more old at this point. Oh, I feel dated. But okay, thank you to myself for calling myself out. It's a little old. I'm a little old. Not really. I'm 32. Anyway, I enjoyed it. Was it difficult? I think it took almost a year. Makes sense. If you've seen how chunky the Canterbury Tales is, you would understand. About a year. Yeah, especially if you're trying to digest it. Now, would I reread it? I probably would, because I've forgotten the details, because it's been so long. And yes, it's long and it's a difficult read, but I would say that that's worth it. And lastly, number 10, Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brian. I had no idea how to rate this book. This was a recent read. My husband suggested this book, and I think that if you are interested in the Navy, maritime war, maritime law, just ships, okay, anything to do with ships and war and the Navy, that would be for you, because no BS, there were times where it was like 20 plus pages describing ships. Now, I like a good ship. Yeah, I like boating. Do I love boating? Am I obsessed with boating? Am I obsessed with the history of the British Navy? No. But if you are, then this book and this book series is for you. I kept going because the two main characters were, I would say, cute. Yeah, I'm going to say cute. Their interactions were cute, adorable, not like they're together in a relationship, but it was a bromance that kept me reading. And my husband was like, "Are you still reading Master and Commander?" I'm like, "Yes." It's been like, what, 4 months? It's a little tough, babe. Like, because I'm not that interested in 25 pages describing one ship, inch by inch. No, sorry, I will have to say no, not interested. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll just skim it." It's fine. You're not like completely missing anything. They're just, Patrick O'Brian knows his stuff. Everything, or almost everything, per my husband, in the Master and Commander book series, because there's like 20 books, accurate. The ideal reader would be someone obsessed with ships and the British Navy and all that stuff, which, like I said, I like it. I'm not obsessed. Therefore, I don't find the 25 plus pages on just one ship and describing every inch of it interesting. So, for me personally, I'm leaning towards no. But the relationship between the two main characters, interesting, cute, that kept me going. Am I going to read all the books? No. But if you're fascinated, not really just interested, but if you're fascinated with this concept, with the history of the British Navy, then this would be the book and maybe book series for you. Thank you so much for watching my top 10 hardest books I've read and if they were worth it. I think that was pretty good. Let me know if you've read any or all of these books, and do you think they were difficult, and did you like them or not? Let me know in the comment section. And like I said, the 2 book reviews, A Clockwork Orange and The Sun Also Rises, those are in the description box below. Don't drag me too hard, especially on The Sun Also Rises, because I messed up people's names and got them confused. Apologies in advance once again. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Bye!